Welcome once again to another game of the Pro League 6 Championship Tournament Competition, whatever you want to call it, of Littlewargame. It is day number 3, and we start today off with the Week 1 Group A once more. And it's Joshers09 versus MatthewN. So far it has been, I don't want to say one-sided, but at least the outcome has been in favor of the team, the Fellowship so far, taken 2 out of the 2 games, or taken 2 out of the 2 series, I have to say, so far. So let's see if Joshers can actually keep it up and make it a 3 out of 3 series-wise, or if MatthewN can continue the trend that Niget put in and get himself 2 game victories and take the series in Broleague's favor. If we look at the beginning of the score tally of today, then the Fellowship is still on first place, closely being followed by Team Holy since the game of yesterday. There was a great showdown between Glaba and Hydra. We're going to see if the Fellowship can extend their lead even further, or if Team Broleague can get himself into the fray as well and keep everything going as tight as possible. If Broleague takes 1 point so far, they will put themselves on exactly the same score as Team Mdurk and get on a shared 3rd place. But of course, they want to get that clean sweep and get themselves 3 maps and 4 points to get themselves on equal footing with Team Holy. Now, having that said, let's just get into the game and see what will happen in this series between Joshers09 and MatthewN. And we are starting off this series on the map Ice Cold. I will tell you that the map pool is slightly bigger than 3 maps, but of course players have the ability to veto maps, and if these are the maps that they are the most comfortable playing on, they will obviously pick these maps themselves. So that's why we're probably once again on Ice Cold, just maybe a little bit more familiar with the people here. But it is still giving plenty of space for some great games. Just like Ravaged is still able to do that. But without any further ado, let's introduce our players. Because on the first match over here of this wonderful series, spawning with the red pieces on the bottom left-hand side, it is MatthewN. And then that obviously means that on the top right-hand side, spawning with the blue pieces, it is going to be Joshers09. And we are once again going to see a Den versus Den opening. This patch, I have noticed, and more players have obviously noticed, and I noticed because other players have told me, that Beast is not necessarily OP or whatever, but it does have some very nice abilities. It's going to be a 2 Den for Matthew, it seems, versus the 1 Den of Josh's. Beast obviously has some nice capabilities when it comes to scouting itself, because of the wolf can obviously get into the main base. They're very quick, so they can get some scouting information for you. Obviously the army themselves, the Beast army has a high movement speed, so you can control the map a little bit more compared to the Rex players and the mech players and the Rex mech players and stuff like that, because they are a little bit less mobile, so they have to pay a little bit more attention to where their army is going to be. And of course, the Beast player can pump out a higher amount of wolves, or wolves, snakes, whatever, and they are all fast, so they can also get some nice concaves going and surround the opponent's army if they are not being careful enough. If anyone has played StarCraft, of course, StarCraft 1, but also, of course, StarCraft 2, then you can imagine the Beast units being more of a Zerg playstyle, and the Rex units obviously being more of a Terran-based playstyle. And there's nothing really representing Protoss at this level. or at this point in time. And I don't think that's going to happen, of course, because this is Littlewargame and not StarCraft. But it's very nice to see that Matthew was able to take down the Scouting Wolf of Joshers almost immediately. And Matthew himself is still going to be able to harass our player in the blue. But yes, Joshers getting himself a natural base. Matthew does not seem to go for it just yet, is going to move out one of his workers. Seems a little bit early to go towards his naturals, so maybe he's going to make another house first. It seems obvious to make a house first because he's already supply blocked. But it looks like he might go and save some money for a natural. A little bit inefficient use of that worker, but nothing too insane, as he is obviously also busy trying to harass Joshers at his natural base as well. Joshers, however, is making himself a watchtower, so this is going to be a limited amount of pressure. As soon as this finishes, the capabilities of MatthewN's army and harassment capabilities are going to be diminished relatively quickly. Does go ahead and move one wolf to each of the third base expansion locations. And keep an eye out on when Joshers is thinking about getting that going. But Joshers with the earlier natural base is getting himself 2 more dens and is going to get himself some additional production relatively soon. But here we see MatthewN, I think, has looked into the book of Slammer and has also looked into Glaba's notes, because he is getting himself a relatively quick fortress. And we all know what that means. That means dragons. And dragons so far have been doing quite well. Was it Slammer? I think it was Slammer versus Weird Red. That was the game of the dragon proxy. But it did relatively well. Definitely throws off people, I would assume. But yeah, the early fortress is what we see more and more and more as this tournament progresses. Which is interesting to see. Obviously, fortress first is not what we see that often, but we definitely see dragons quite often. MatthewN, in the meantime, as he is containing Joshers just a little bit, is not paying attention to his wolves. Does go ahead and lose one? Not quite yet, so that's a pretty decent movement right there. But he is going to get himself a relatively fast third base to try and pull himself into the economic lead, as he is behind quite a bit on Joshers already. Getting himself the third base, though, is going to be able to let him create 3 workers at the same time, so he can definitely catch up relatively quickly on Joshers. Especially having the workers have a more efficient mining going on. Joshers will only now know that there is a natural base, of course, from Matthew. Does see that there are not too many workers here, which is an interesting thing to pay attention to. So you might think that Matthew is getting into a little bit more of an aggressive field here. Aggressive playstyle. He also sees that there is an additional wolf den being constructed. There are 4 in total for Matthew right now. And he still does not know of the third base. This seems like a little bit of a tricky situation, though, as there are 17 wolves from Joshers against the 11 right now from Matthew. It does have the defending player's advantage of the faster re-engagements, or not re-engagements, reinforcements. But this is very hard for him, really, to keep up, because it's just an overwhelming force from Joshers here. I think just a few more and just a little bit of a better concave against the army of the other person, and that can really grow rapidly into the favor of the player with just as a few more units. And it is looking like Joshers is just continuously going to stream in more and more and more units. This wolf is going to be taken care of as well. He's probably going to try and get a third of himself. Workers over here are also slowly getting killed. They do deal quite some damage, so definitely don't underestimate the power of workers. Because every of their attack deals 8 damage themselves as well. So definitely don't underestimate them, but it's taking quite some time before Joshers actually gets pushed back. The gold lost is in favor of Joshers because he did manage to go and kill 5 workers. Does put him ahead by those 5 workers in the total worker count, but once again, Joshers does have 3 bases, so he is going to be able to replenish those relatively quickly. Once again, Joshers, more wolves. Going to try and take the advantage when it comes to this battle. 2 of his wolves were going to get surrounded, but one of the wolves of Matthew died, so did free them all together. Still 19 versus 13 wolves, all in favor of Joshers. Did get himself a 3rd base and a watchtower to defend it a little bit more. Once again, natural base. Plenty of wolves from our blue player. Does get held by Matthew so far though. Once again, reinforcements are there sooner. Will he eventually... Yes, he did scout the 3rd base of Matthew, so he does know that he's a little bit in a pickle when it comes to the income. Even though, having that said, well, at the moment it's not because the workers did not mind, because they had to slay some wolves. It's not the best position to be in. Fortress has been finished from Matthew. He's just now creating the dragon lair. Not the fastest dragon lair, of course, because the fortress has been completed for a little bit, but there were wolves in the face of Matthew, so I can totally understand that is not something that he was paying too much attention to. Joshers, however, is going for a double animal testing lab. Is also getting himself a snake den and 2 more wolf, or a snake charmer and 2 more wolf dens. Is going to transition himself into a wolf snake army, it seems like. And also getting himself some more upgrades. Because these engagements are definitely not bad for Joshers. If he gets some upgrades in there as well, that is going to be interesting to see how much MatthewN's army is going to be absolutely demolished. Sends out a few wolves to take down some of the workers. The other wolves are going to keep the army of MatthewN busy. If you look at the total amount of units, it looks like it is in favor of Joshers. 4 wolves do manage to get into the main base, though, of Joshers. I'm not entirely sure if that was the best move, however, it does see that there are some animal testing labs going to be constructed, but it feels like he is going to need all of the wolves at his natural base. First dragon is about to pop out, but Snake Charmer has been completed from Joshers, so he can just construct some snakes and go and mass them in order to take down the dragons. Obviously, this bird has scouted the dragons there, is getting himself 2 advanced workshops, so he's going to be ready for the dragons by getting some of these ballistas. And all of these wolves are dealing quite some damage. These wolves are going to be cleaned up in the main base, not too much damage being dealt by Matthew. But there is a lot going on in Matthew's base. The entire wolf army here does manage to be able to get cleaned up. But it is still so far in the favor of Joshers. 400 gold in the favor when it comes to the gold lost. 1000 gold in favor when it comes to the total amount of resources mined. So it's not looking too good for Matthew. Of course, income-wise itself, it is going to be Joshers who's going to slowly start running away with this, as he is 5 workers ahead. 3 bases versus 3 bases. The first amount of snakes are entering the fray. The first dragon is going over to the right-hand side. Is it going to be caught, though? It looks like not just yet. Does see it now, however. Probably will bring the snakes over to try and take it down. So far, not really. is moving away from it. That is an interesting thing to do. However, one ballista is almost going to pop out. There is a watchtower at the second and third base. There's also a watchtower at the main base. It's a very nice defense for dragons so far. Is he going to be able to take down some workers though? Because this dragon is now free to just roam around. Joshers is going to push those, so this dragon does need to make a solid decision. The first ballista popped out. Explosive shot is going to be done relatively quickly. The other dragon does manage to find the fourth base of Joshers, which is going to be constructed here instead of over in this corner, which is also quite interesting. Ballista definitely going to take down that dragon if that dragon does not fly away immediately. This dragon does manage to take down the worker, delays the fourth base. This dragon is almost taken down. And here we go, Joshers once again going for the engagement. The attack speed of the snakes is insane. 1-1 has been completed. The second attack upgrade is just started. First attack upgrade for Matthew has been completed as well, but this is just a way bigger army for our player in the blue. MatthewN's army gets absolutely demolished. Ballistas have started to enter the field as well. One ballista has been finished. It's not with the main army, of course. It is defending his base, which is a great position because his main army already has snakes. It doesn't deal quite that much damage to dragons, because it deals -1.5 damage versus flying, but there is still plenty of that to work with. Two dragons are being constructed at the same time for Matthew, but is it going to be enough though? I highly doubt that it's going to be. The entire army for Matthew on the ground is once again going to be completely demolished. Dragons have a slight edge here because they can just attack whatever they want, but everything on the ground is just going to be taken care of. And I think he keeps wanting to attack the units. Or is he just going to move it out? He's going to move it out just for now. The airship with the ballista is going to come in, and with the explosive shot being finished as well, is going to manage to push back these dragons, especially if they clump up a little bit. All of these dragons are going to take massive damage from the one single ballista that is in Josh's army. He's going to drop it, shoot it, explosive shot, deals quite some damage. Nothing too insane just yet, definitely does not want to lose this airship, but in the meantime, this ballista is just going to shoot away all these dragons. Is going to deal another explosive shot. Yes, it is, a lot of damage being dealt. One dragon, two dragons go down, third dragon goes down as well, fourth dragon goes down, absolutely devastating for Matthew, and nothing in the sky stays alive. The ground army from Joshers is way too big. No counteroffensives for our player in the red. It is turning into absolute shambles. There are only 6, well, pretty much 5 dragons remaining for a player in the red. Probably go and try and see if he can do something with it. Oh, whoops, my bad. Once again, wrong tab. There is only 1 dragon. 6 have died. Whoops, my bad. Yeah, I don't think that there is anything that that Matthew can do here. Ballista seems to have been taken down, but these snakes are going to be a nuisance for these dragons because the attack speed is very high. 2 attack upgrades have been completed at this point, so the -1.5 does not matter that much anymore. And this just does not look nice for a player in the red. Third base has been destroyed. Did get himself a fourth though, but it's not going to be enough. MatthewN GG's out. And Joshers is going to claim game number 1. With a very nice 2-1 upgrade versus just the 2 attack upgrades from Matthew. So there wasn't too much in there, but yeah, the army composition was just better. And the total army count for Joshers was just way better. So a very well deserved win for Team The Fellowship. They will at least move into a more and more secured spot at first place, but the series, once again, is not over yet. Matthew can still do a reverse sweep, can still manage to get himself a point on the board for Team Broleague, and they get them tied with Mderg. But so far it looks relatively smooth sailing for Joshers. Will he be able to continue it in game 2? Let's figure out. And what better map to figure it out than our well and beloved Ravaged. And on the top left-hand side of Ravaged with the red pieces, once again, it is our boy Matthew. Which means that once again, playing with the blue pieces on the bottom right this time, it is our boy Joshers. So, we have seen Den versus Den. Went into favor of our blue boy right here. Well, what are we going to see in game number 2? Are they, or especially from Matthew of course, are they going to stick with what worked and didn't work in the previous game? Are they going to try and execute it a little bit better? Or is it going to be a completely different strategy from the start? And it is going to be a different strategy from the start, as Matthew is starting with a Rex and Josh's over here is going to start with a Den. Not entirely sure if this walls off completely. I think it does, but it looks like it doesn't. So maybe this positioning is not the best here. But Josh's actually is going for 2 Dens. Definitely going to get more and more aggressive. And this is going to be interesting to see if Matthew can defend from this pressure. But there's only one way to find out, so Matthew, you better be ready for Josher's Wolves. Is getting himself a Raider, sending it straight to the natural of Josher's, who himself is obviously going to mass produce some wolves. Also going to be curious to see if there is any economic point being made here, but so far it doesn't look like it. Both of these players are stuck on 11 workers as we speak. So Matthew, however, is stuck on 11 workers, but does save up for a natural base. Is not continuously going to produce raiders here, so he only has 1 raider right now. Does find the Wolf of Josh's here, did manage to flash away, did not get a hit in though. So Josher's Wolves will have free reign of the movement over here. 2 more wolves are going to be moved to the side, probably expects a second raider to go across the battlefield and we spot all of these wolves. But nothing of that nature so far. There's continuous wolf production from Josh's, and there's only 1 raider from Matthew. The second unit being constructed is an archer, which is definitely not what he needs right now. Workers are being pulled, definitely needs to go and defend this. This worker is absolutely going to be demolished, so the natural base is also going to be delayed. Is this already going to be the end for Matthew? The archer does not get a shot off at the wolves, so 2 wolves are on low health, but they are not completely dead just yet. But as you can see in the production tab, once again, just more and more and more wolves are going to enter the fray. 3 wolves, not entirely sure if you want to do this, Joshers, as this wolf just survives on 2 health. Not the best. The flash forward with the raider is just, that's very cocky. And the raider itself is almost dead as well, and I think that if Joshers would just run in here, that he might have a pretty decent chance at actually taking it down. Obviously some of the wolves are on very low health, but he does have the numbers. And I don't think that Matthew is going to hold this. He is getting himself a second barracks, which would be nice, but I would have loved to see him get a watchtower actually. Second barracks, obviously not bad. He definitely wants to get some more units going in. But I'm not entirely sure if that is the best situation to be in right now. I believe that a watchtower would be more value at this point. But we'll see if he can actually defend. The wolves, once again, are going to try to deal damage wherever they can. Archers, however, are going to be able to attack this. And the wolves are slowly going to be taken down. Switch them for full health wolves. Is he going to be able to take down this house? I don't quite think he is. That is a very interesting flash once again. Not the best movement from the raider here, in my opinion. Does manage to take down a wolf though, so it is nice, and energy can be regenerated, but I'm not entirely sure if that was the best thing to do. Having that said, Joshers is himself getting a second base. He was a little behind on the economy, just slightly. Not that big of a deal though. Is pouring himself into the economy as we speak. But nothing too special so far. Is saving up to get himself a third base right now. There's also a worker at the third for Matthew, so I feel like they are both thinking of the same thing. Joshers indeed gets himself a third base. Matthew is going to save up until 350, and I believe that at that point this worker is going to move and get a third base as well. And by pushing back the wolves, Matthew might be able to get ahead in this situation right here. Or is Joshers going to not allow this to happen? Let's see what he can do with his wolves. A very nice positioning from Matthew at this point to get the soldier in front and keep the archers safe. But not entirely sure if that will be the best position, because obviously that leaves the natural base open for a huge attack, and this house is definitely going to be taken down. That flash in of the raider could have ended absolutely terribly. But so far, not that big of a deal. House does get taken down, so Matthew is going to be extremely supply blocked here. Is going to have to wait for this house to be finished and this castle to be finished to even produce anything else anymore. And this is a great moment for Joshers to just roll into the natural base and take down everything that Matthew has, because there is no possibility for him to get into it and actually get some more reinforcements. Castle is being finished. It gives him only one supply though. It doesn't really get him anything. House number 1 has been finished. House number 2 will be finished. So now the production will kick in again. But it's not looking good so far. Animal testing lab is going to be constructed from Joshers, so he will get himself some upgrades as well as another den. So it's going to be curious to see if Joshers is going to stick with wolves here and just get himself some attack upgrades, or if he's going to include some snakes as well, to get some more diversity in the army as well, and also get himself some ranged attacks. Workshop has been started, advanced workshop has been started. I expect Matthew to try and get some catapult drops going. To try and distract Joshers, to give himself a little bit of a breathing room and establish some map control for himself. Right now he's been relatively tightly packed around his 3 bases here. Having that said, Joshers does indeed go for the Snake Charmer, so I assume him to start the production of 2 or 3 snakes at the exact same time. As well as maybe trickle in some more wolves over time. Another barracks being constructed, giving Matthew a total of 3. But that is against another base of Joshers for a total of 4. That is going to be painful for Matthew. One raider is going to move all the way across the map, so he's probably going to try and scout, see if he does indeed have a 4th, which painfully he'll see. He'll actually have. Might be able to take down the worker constructing the 4th though, but he's still going to be quite behind on that. An additional worker already being moved towards the 4th location will probably see and move everything around relatively quickly. Worker will go down though. Yep, there we go. Wolves being pulled back to try and take care of this raider. And is going to give Matthew a little bit of breathing room. The classic one wolf at every location. Yeah, this was indeed not a wall, it seems like, because there's still room to walk in between. This raider, though, not being controlled relatively well, does just get killed, which is not that good to see. It will be chased down, so goodbye to you, raider, in, I believe, 2 attacks once it reaches it. But the classic one wolf at either 4th base locations to try and make sure that Matthew does not really go anywhere. The bird did spot an airship with 2 catapults, so I believe that Joshers is going to be relatively ready for this. 6 thens have been constructed in total, which will give Joshers a great production capability. But this is not that good. The first attack started with the wolf den. That's not really what we like to see. Nice and quick reaction from Joshers here. Going to move all of the workers. Loses absolutely nothing in that engagement. But it is interesting to see how that pressure over here will continue to develop. You can obviously pick up these catapults again and move them over here again, but Joshers keeping very nice eye on that area. Another wolf to try and alert Joshers if the rest of the army of MatthewN is going to move out of the natural base. If you look at the total amount of units, the army for Matthew is actually looking relatively capable. The airship is going to be moved back. It's a very interesting almost catch by all of the snakes of Joshers. Taken down the airship to just 27 health out of the 220, almost taken down the catapults as well. Definitely needs to be repaired. But yeah, this army from Matthew is quite scary, I have to say. The 2 catapults over here, not too big of a deal, but with the addition of the 2 catapults in the airship, definitely going to be tricky to deal with. Having that said, the total amount of army is also very interesting. 5 soldiers being constructed at the same time. 1 armor upgrade having finished as well will make these soldiers even tankier. So I'm going to be curious how Joshers is going to deal with this. Did get himself 2 attack upgrades though, so his army is quite strong. But is it eventually going to be enough? He is going to try and attack from the 4th side. Is this airship going to be caught though by Josh's army? And it will be. Is it going to be faster though than the airship? I don't think it is going to be. It was just so close to be able to catch the airship and take down all of the catapults with it. It would have been such a great catch. But it's not going to happen. Matthew starting his 4th base. Getting himself 2 armor upgrades at the same time. Trying to get himself 2-2 as fast as possible. While Matthew is still on 0-1 trying to get 1-1. The engagement has started. Catapults deal quite some nice damage. The soldiers, though, once again are quite tanky, especially with the 1 armor upgrade. These are the 5 soldiers that it was producing at the same time. I feel like Joshers might want to go and get himself either more beast army or maybe some catapults himself, because beast and catapults are going to be interesting to see. This ballista can definitely take down the airship over here, as Matthew did manage to get himself into the main base. Are the workers actually going to be taken down? Nothing has been taken down so far from the workers, only being dealt some damage here. Some more engagement in the middle of the field. The army is close to getting surrounded. There is just archers and some catapults remaining. You want to get this working in your favor. Don't move all of your army and try and catch the reinforcements, but it does work so far, it seems like. But MatthewN just has so many archers with the 2 catapults, just dealing so much damage. Catapults did attack the 4th of Joshers just a little bit, but only lost 2 workers. Everything else has been moved out of the way. And there are no additional opportunities for airships to get themselves into Josher's base at this point, because there are no more airships on the field. When it comes to the supply, Joshers is a little bit ahead at 140 versus the 110 of Matthew. And it looks like Joshers himself is going to try and do some dropping play, because he's getting himself an airship. Will be interesting. Probably going to try and drop some of his beast army on top of these catapults, or maybe drop it into the bases themselves. This is going to be a great fight on top of this ramp. Is it going to be a great position that he wants to be in, though? Catapults once again from behind. It would have been great if some of his army would sneak behind, or would sneak from behind and wrap around these catapults. Once again, Joshers constructing a fortress is going to try and go for dragons himself, something Matthew just could not get to work. And Joshers seems like he can, at least so far. He's going to try and harass the 3rd base a little, but will probably get pushed away relatively quickly. Or he would have been able to take down one of the houses. Would not have resulted into anything, though, as Matthew still has plenty of supply to play with. But it would be interesting. At least Joshua is getting himself a 5th base. A little bit of an aggressive base here, but an understandable position for him. But once again, trying to take down the 3rd base. Going to also attack the 4th base. There is no watchtowers over there, so there's no defense. There is no units over there as well, so all of these workers are in a very tough position. He's going to run them through the army, which is not a great thing to do. But over here in the meantime, main army versus main army is slowly getting pushed back, but that is only a distraction, as the 4th base of MatthewN is going to be taking some damage. 2-2 has been finished from Joshers. It is almost 3-2 at this point. More engagement over here on the right-hand side. Soldiers are going to be taken down slowly and steadily. Archers definitely do not have the tanking capabilities of the soldiers. But in numbers, they can obviously take down plenty of wolves. Army on the right-hand side being pushed back. However, army on the left-hand side did manage to deal quite a bit of harassment. When you look at the units being slain, 30 soldiers have been going down in total. Not the best to see. What in the world is that upgrade? I have not seen that one yet. But anyway, fortress has been completed. 2 dragon layers are being completed as well. There are 3 airships for Joshers, and I'm curious what he will eventually do with that. But he is keeping Matthew busy on all fronts. They managed to take down some of the archers here. There's still some wolves over here trying to be a nuisance at the 3rd base. Did finish his 5th, which is very nice to see. Matthew trying to get a watchtower at his 5th location as well. And this is not the best engagement from the wolves over here, but I assume that this is more to try and take down the supply a little bit to give him some room for dragons than anything else. Having that said, I'm still curious where that upgrade is coming from, because I don't see a building that would make that. But yeah, please tell me what this upgrade is from Joshers, because... what? Matthew, however, did get himself a mage guild, if I'm correct. Yep, there we go. Mage guild is getting himself a few mages, is researching the fireball, trying to get some more damage dealt for or against Josh's beast army. But yes, like I said, airships to drop the entire army into the main base. Also going to try and take down the 5th base over here, multi-prong attack, takes down the mage guild. The mages do not have a fireball, can only slow down the beast army. Is going for the forges here, does manage to take down one of the forges before it completes one of the upgrades. The second one though does finish the upgrade, so it's just a little bit too late for that. Another mage guild being constructed at the second base, but in the meantime there's people wreaking havoc in the main base. The army at the possible 5th is going to be pushed back, but I don't think that's where your priorities need to lead, Joshers. You obviously want to secure your income, but that is not what you want to do. In the meantime, over here, Joshers, why in the world are you taking that base as your 6th? That is going to be very interesting. A workshop being constructed over at the 5th base location. Not entirely sure if that might have been a misplay or if that is actually what he wanted to do. Army being dropped from the main base into the 4th base location. Is it actually going to be able to take down the castle? I think it is, because there's absolutely nothing over here. Everything of Josh's base is being put out of position. A nice surround on the army over here. The airships do manage to get taken down relatively quickly by all of these archers. Do fly away though. And this castle does end up going down. Together with the house, 4th base being cleaned up completely. Watchtower over here is going to be constructed, as Matthew does manage to find that the 6th base of Josh's is going to be constructed there. Not a very nice move, I assume, of Matthew, but yeah, Josh's over here is not going to complete the base, and is now going to attack the workers, trying to keep them busy for quite some time. Maybe take him down before the watchtower is going to be completed. I highly doubt that that will happen though. Having that said, 4 attack upgrades and 2 armor upgrades have been finished for Josh's. Is getting himself 5-3. The fireball upgrade is once again being researched from Matthew. But I don't think it's going to be enough. Income-wise, this is disgusting. 1,000 gold a minute more for our player in the blue, and he's already 2.2k gold ahead when it comes to the mine gold. Look at all these workers just chilling at the natural base where there's no gold remaining. He needs to do something with it. Might as well attack with all of these units and take care of all of the units over here. They might not have the best attacking power, but they would definitely be able to do something. The units of Matthew over here are going to try and take down these watchtowers as well. Probably not the best position to be in. Matthew trying to counterattack with an airship with some catapults. Is it going to be enough though? I highly doubt it. Small army over here being taken down from Josh's. Workshop over here has been taken down, or at least been cancelled, and has been restarted again. These catapults definitely need to go and start to do something. Watchtowers over here are being completely destroyed. 6th base of Josh's has been completed. More harassment being continued in the natural base. Army still has not been slain. More army is entering the 3rd base location, and Matthew is just going for the counter-offensive. I don't think he has enough catapults though to take down the entire army. And at the same time, for whatever gets killed from Josh's, he can start to construct some dragons instead. If he wants to, of course. Some nice movement from Matthew, trying to take down some infrastructure from Josh's, but in the meantime, Josh's is just wreaking absolute havoc on the 3rd base of Matthew, just dealing just as much, if not more, damage on the other side of the field. 3rd base from Joshers does manage to be taken down though, but there's only 800 gold left to be mined at the 3rd location, so it's not the biggest of deals. But at the other side, there's just so many workers just long distance mining. That is not what you would like to see when you are Matthew. But still, this base race is just continuing to go on, but there is a lot of base to be destroyed from Joshers. Jesus Christ. Just making more and more dens over here at this other base, making more houses as well to try and catch anything that might have been destroyed over here. 5 attack upgrades and 3 armor upgrades have been completed. The 4th armor upgrade is on the way. This beast army is insanely strong. Matthew is on 2-3 himself, but I don't think it's going to be enough, really. All of the workers over here are going to be taken down. There's no defense at his 4th, there's no defense at his 5th, apart from 1 watchtower, but we've seen that it's not enough. Some nice placements from the catapults over here, but I don't think it's also going to be enough. This base might just be taken down, but Joshers does not care, as his army is way bigger, can deal way more damage over here. And I think that this game is just also going to be for Joshers. There is 2 full airships with units ready to be dropped as well. Either taking care of this army over here or going to enter the fray over here. For some reason the units there were being set on hold, so there's a little bit of a missed opportunity to actually go and finish that base off sooner. But at least one of the upgrades gets cancelled. Dragon lairs will also go and get killed before any dragons are going to be produced. But nothing too special going on over here. Obviously dealing a lot of damage, but once again the entire infrastructure has been restarted here. Advanced workshop being reconstructed. Bases where there are actual gold counts instead of none anymore, or almost none anymore, are going to stay afloat while everything else is being destroyed for Matthew. I think it is a valiant effort, but if you look at the income, once again, it is 0 for a player in the red, and I highly doubt that this is going to be enough to slay everything that Matthew or that Joshers has in store. He has double the amount of resources, and he might not have a snake charmer right now, but he can easily rebuild like 5 more of those. So I don't think that this is what Joshers, or what the, Joshers really cares about. He's going to take down all of the rest of the buildings of Matthew over here. And he has a massive army waiting for for Matthew. So I feel like this is a slight feel-good moment for Matthew here, but it's going to be far from enough. These soldiers also not actually attacking these wolves is a very interesting position to be in. Probably just putting them on hold to not get them surrounded as easily, maybe get the most efficient damage from it, just trying to hold them on top of the ramp. It does manage to push back the army for now. This upgrade is not going to get finished as the animal testing lab is going to get destroyed. The airships finally drop the units on top of the catapults there. Will it kill this airship? Yes, it will actually kill that airship as well, so a lot of movement and micromobility from the catapults of Matthew have been taken down, and this is going to be absolutely disgusting. 1 front, 2 fronts, 3 fronts of attack will completely surround the army of Matthew, and there is nothing that he's going to be able to do about it. A slowing field from the mages can only do so much, but it's going to be a complete surround with an insanely strong army. And that is just going to be the end. Matthew finally GG's out and will concede to Joshers. And that means that Joshers has done it. Obviously very well played to both of these, but so far it has seemed, once again, relatively smooth sailing for a player. For Team the Fellowship, another sweep has been concluded. 3 series wins in a row for the team brings them to a total of 6 map victories, of which 2 are clean sweeps, so they have a total point tally of 8 points, leaving Team Broleague with just 1 map and 1 point. After the 3rd day of week 1. There is still plenty of games for the teams to play, so there's still all to fight for, but Team the Fellowship is definitely gaining a lead. They are still very, very solid. But keep in mind, like I said, it's far from over, and any other team can do the exact same thing as the Fellowship is doing right now, so it's very easy to catch up at this point. And yeah, I'm also going to be curious to see what Team Holy and Team Mdirk are going to do in the next game, as they are going to be up next. And it is actually going to be the 2 team captains going to fight against each other. because it is actually going to be Holy from Team Holy and Mdirk from Team Mdirk to a duel against each other. And see if Mdirk can switch the pattern that has started on Group B's schedule here. Because it has been 2-1 and 2-1 all in favor for Team Holy. But having that said though, that was a very nice series to watch, and hopefully it was a very nice series for you guys to watch as well. And obviously I hope you enjoyed this cast. If you did, feel free to like the video. And obviously if you do not want to miss out on any of the future Pro League 6 matches and series and everything else going along with it, feel free to subscribe as well. And don't forget to check out all of the other content creators of Littlewargame, because there is a lot of coverage of this tournament, a lot of point of views and a lot of things to learn. So I hope that you enjoyed it, and until the next series, I'll see you then. Have a great day, my dudes.